I rise to present the report of the 58th Plenary Assembly Session on the SADC Parliamentary Forum, which was held in South Africa on the 30th of November to the 5th of December 2025, under the theme, The Impact of Climate Change on Women and Youth in the SADC region and the role of parliamentarians in climate change mitigation and adaptation. The Zimbabwe delegation, Mr. Speaker, was led by Honorable Senator Mbowa, the member of the Standing Committee on Gender Equality, Women Advancement and Youth Development. Also the chairperson of the Zimbabwe Women's Parliamentary Caucus and the member of the Executive Committee on ZWPC and the Executive of SADC Parliamentary Forum. The other committees, Mr. Speaker, was on Senator Honorable Chinenza Chigwanzara, Chief Matsio, who is also a member of the Standing Committee on Food, Agriculture, Natural Resources and Climate Action. Honorable Tendai Nyabani, the member of the Standing Committee on Democratization, Governance and Human Rights. Honorable Messi Mgomo, the member of the Standing Committee on Trade, Industry, Finance and Investment. And myself, Honorable Speaker, as the Deputy Chair of the Standing Committee on Human and Social Development and Social Programs. The official opening was opened on the 30th of November by Honorable Paul Mashatile, Acting President of South Africa, who delivered an inspirational and indefinite visual address that placed climate change at the center of the region's development agenda. The acting president underscored the severe and the impact of climate shocks on women and youth, warning that climate change remains a significant threat multiplier existing core socio-economic vulnerabilities. According to the acting president, he urged parliamentarians to be champion on gender-sensitive, people-centered policies, strengthening oversight of the national and regional climate commitments and accelerating investment in renewable energy development, early warning systems, and foster climate resilience livelihoods. Furthermore, Honorable Mashatile stressed the imperative of collective action, calling on SADC parliamentarians to drive inclusive, sustainable, and climate responsibility development across the region. In her welcome address, the host speaker, Honorable Angela Thokozile Didiza, characterized climate change as a crisis of inequality harming women and youth. Speaker Didizela called for comprehensive climate change framework laws, gender and youth-sensitive budgeting, and harmonized regional governance to advance a just transition and strengthen climate resilience across SADC. Speaking at the same occasion, Honorable Sitten Thierry, President of SADC Parliamentary Forum, Speaker of the National Assembly of Madagascar, warned that climate change was exacerbating poverty, food insecurity, and inclusion, especially for structurally marginalized women and young women. To that an extent, the SADC Parliamentary Forum President called on member parliaments to embed gender and youth-responsive climate measures in legislation and budgets, urging a shift from commitment to measurable climate-just actions. From a youth perspective, Ms. Princess Majapelo, representative of Southern Africa youth parliamentarians, stated that young people are living with the realities of repeated climate shocks, disrupted education, and other opportunities. She urged the parliamentarians to institutionalize the youth participation and invest in youth-driven climate innovation, emphasizing that young people are leaders in motion within the changing climate landscape. Finally, in giving a vote of thanks, Honorable Ms. Azarel Jolinda, Speaker of the National Assembly of Seychelles and host of the 59th Plenary Assembly, expressed gratitude to the acting president, presiding officers, and all delegation for successful official opening on the climate justice. She reaffirmed the Seychelles' readiness to host the 59th plenary and its commitment to advance regional efforts to mitigate and adapt the impact of climate change on women and youth. Pursuant to the Plenary Assembly's theme, a highly interactive, educative, and informative symposium on the impact of climate change on women and youth in the SADC region and the role of parliaments in climate change mitigation and adaptation was convened, drawing on practical experiences from across the region in diverse sectors. During the symposium, a compendium of well-researched and comprehensive presentation was delivered by the experts represented a broad spectrum of stakeholders. This presentation provides an articulated of the regional climate outlook and delineates the critical responsibilities of parliaments in addressing climate change. Presenters highlighted that SADC region is already experiencing the diverse consequences of climate change, including droughts, frequent floods, and rising temperatures extremes. These phenomena are eroding livelihoods and deepening inequality within communities, particularly women and youth, who are often least protected and disproportionately affected and remain most exposed to the damaging effects of the climate shocks. A thematic session on small-scale farming highlighted climate change as a threat to rain-fed agriculture, with erratic rainfall, prolonged droughts, and flood undermining food security, household incomes, and nutrition. It was emphasized that women and youth, who constitutes a large share of stakeholder producers, are particularly vulnerable and require targeted support through climate-smart agriculture, access to finance, extension services, and secure land tenure, underpinned by enabling legislation and pro-poor budget allocations. The Queen municipality outlined lessons from recent storm disasters, emphasizing improved early warning systems, strengthened disaster readiness, and operationalization of the Forum on Climate Change. The Toyota South Africa demonstrates how April 2022 climate-induced flood devastation its Durban plant within 1 hour, destroying 4,249 vehicles, shutting down power cuts, water and telecommunications, and disrupting operations of 104 days. The case study underscored the importance of business continuity, planning, public-private disaster coordination, resilient infrastructure investment, and transport communication as core components of climate risk management. Mr. Speaker, I will go to the progress report on the resolution. Zimbabwe reported steady implementation of the 57th Plenary Assembly resolution, confirming progress in regional economic integration through active utilization of the AfCFTA, reviewing of tariff schedules as reforms in critical mineral sector aimed at strengthening value addition and community benefit. The country report highlighted key governance human rights gains, including tougher penalties for sexual offenses, the banning of child marriages, expansion of open prison and rehabilitation programs, and ongoing support on national human rights institutions. Additionally, Zimbabwe reaffirms its leadership in the transformation agenda towards the establishment of the SADC regional parliament. Mr. Speaker, the report also highlighted the social and health sectors. Zimbabwe outlined measures to reduce the external funding through strengthening domestic health financing instruments such as the AIDS levy and targeted taxes. Efforts to promote women's child rights were reinforced through curricular-based GBV prevention and expanded financial inclusion programs. On the thematic resolution, the country reported progress in digital transformation through the National Artificial Intelligence Strategy, expansion of broadband access, digitalization of parliament system.
Order. Honorable Mshoriwa and your two colleagues there, can you lower your voices? Thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the report from Zimbabwe also highlighted the digitalization of parliamentary systems and implementation of climate smart and green initiatives in prisons. Adaptation of Executive Committee and the Treasury's report. The Plenary Assembly took note of the Executive Committee's report, confirming that the Forum remain constitutionally stable and strategically aligned to the 2024 to 2028 strategic plan, with steady progress in key areas such as model law development, SRHR, and climate-related governance, work and organizational risk management. It further noted the importance of administrative decisions on the public debt, tax areas affecting local staff, strengthen the human resources system, and enhance the operational efficiency in readiness for transformation. The Assembly welcomed the Forum's expanding regional influence anchored on the progress towards the SADC model law on prison oversight, collaboration on public financial management, anti-corruption and peace-building initiatives with partners including ICGLRPF. This development positioned the Forum as a one-shop parliamentary platform driving democratic governance, peace, security, and regional integration. The plenary noted that all member states have now signed the agreement of the SADC Treaty and that most have submitted commitments on the protocol, thereby creating momentum for its swift adoption and ratification. The Assembly reaffirmed the critical role of strategic lobby group chaired by our advocate, our own Speaker, Honorable Mudenta. In this regard, the Executive Committee report called for the lobbying mission on the transformation to be sustained and intensified through continued high-level engagement with the heads of state governments and line ministries so that the protocol is considered before the 46th Plenary Session Summit for the SADC Parliamentary Forum. Mr. Speaker, I will also go to the motion which were adopted during the 56th Plenary Assembly. The first was the report on the Standing Committee on Human and Social Development and Special Programs. The HSDSP Committee highlighted significant implementation gaps in the key regional health, SRHR, and labor instruments, noting persistent challenges such as inadequate domestic health financing, stored operations of regional health systems, high maternal mortality, rising HIV infections among young women, and this is slowing the progress of the ratifying the SADC protocol on employment and labor. The report also called for stronger parliamentary oversight, harmonized legal reforms, which will also go for the budget allocations and domestication of these frameworks to advance a regional health security, SRHR outcomes and the decent work across our region. The report of the Standing Committee on the Democracy, Governance and Human Rights was also submitted. This report is also slowing the progress in the signing, ratification and implementation of key SADC protocols, highlighting gaps in anti-corruption enforcement, electoral governance and also regional security cooperation. The other report was the report of the Standing Committee on the Trade, Industry, Finance and Investment. The TIFI report emphasizing the need for stronger regional economic governance, urging member states to fast-track the ratification and domestication of key SADC trade, industry, finance and movement of persons protocols to deepen integration and improve competitiveness. The report on the Standing Committee on Food, Agriculture, Natural Resources and Climate Change was also tabled. The committee highlighted that food security, sustainable natural resources management and climate resilience are central to human and effective prison management, noting that inmates' complete dependence on the state heightens their vulnerability on the climate shocks. It warned that recurring droughts, extreme weather, and under-resourced facilities are compound risk to the nutrition, water access, and basic living standards. Accordingly, it called for climate responsive planning and sustainable resource investment within correctional systems. A report on the Regional Women's Parliamentary Caucus was also tabled. They also urged a stronger women-led parliamentary relationship on climate change, calling for gender-responsive climate laws, budgets, and carbon market frameworks that guarantees a fair benefit sharing, which will also protect women's resource rights and which will also expand access on climate finance for women-led initiatives across the SADC region. The report on the Committee on Gender, Equality, Women Advancement and Youth Development was also tabled, which also calls for the accelerated implementation of SADC gender and youth instrument through faster ratification, stronger gender-responsive budgeting, and tighter parliamentary oversight to deliver real impact for women and young people across our region. Resolution and way forward, Mr. Speaker. The Plenary Assembly resolved that member parliaments, through their presiding officers, should engage with the relevant authorities, including line ministries, to expedite the review of outstanding comments on the protocol. Thereafter, they are expected to actively advocate for its approval. It further endorsed the continuing lobbying role of the group led by our advocate, our own Speaker, Honorable Mudenda, which was tasked to engage heads of state and governments to secure the expeditious consideration of the protocol ahead of the 46th Plenary Summit in August 2026. The Assembly resolved that the Forum should begin formulating the rules and procedures of the Parliament in anticipating of the institution's activity upon ratification on the protocol by 2/3 of the member states. Consistent with the resolution of the plenary on the 58th Plenary Assembly and its focus on the climate justice, the Parliament of Zimbabwe should continue to strengthen its legislative and oversight responsibility concerning climate change. This includes expediting the development of the framework laws that are climate responsive and gender sensitive and youth consideration, reviewing budget allocations related to climate initiative and enhancing oversight in areas such as climate finance, energy institution, food security, and water management, with particular attention to the need of women, youth, smallholders, farmers, and vulnerable communities. To that an extent, it is heartening to note that the Climate Change Bill, HB 05, is now before Parliament, providing a timely opportunity to align national laws with SADC and global climate commitment, and to advance climate smart, pro-poor, and resilient development across all sectors. Parliament of Zimbabwe to direct relevant portfolio thematic committees to systematically follow on the adoption of the Standing Committee reports HSDSP, DGHR, TIFI, FANRCA, RWPC, and GE YADBI, reviewing the national laws, policies against SADC protocols and model law, to advocating for ratification and domestication of outstanding instruments on health, SRHR, employment and labor, trade, industry, energy, and movement of persons. The third one is ensuring adequate domestic funding of health, SRHR, gender and youth program. Also, to consolidate regional economic integration, the Parliament of Zimbabwe should intensify oversight on the commitment under the AFCFTA and SADC economic protocols, promote industrialization and value addition, particularly in the critical mineral sector, and enhance scrutiny on the public-private partnership, debt management, tax policies, and measures against financial flows in line with the executive committees and treasury support. The portfolio and thematic committee to report periodically on progress in eliminating non-tariff barriers, improving the investment climate, and supporting a just energy transition, and the deliver inclusive growth and community benefit. Recognizing the importance of financial stability and the forum, the Parliament of Zimbabwe to honor in full and time the increased annual mandatory member contribution, including the 50% subscription adjustment effect on the 1st of April 2026 and 2026, and to advocate within the national budget process for the provisions of SADC obligation. This will reinforce the forum's ability to meet its statutory responsibility, support transformation, and reduce external funding. In view of the economic disruption caused by the climate-induced disasters, including the April 2022 flood and the Toyota South Africa, the Portfolio Committee to explore opportunity to strengthen public-private partnerships in promoting business continuity and planning and climate risk mitigation, resilient industrialization, disaster risk, financial and coordinated emergency responses. Internally, the Parliament of Zimbabwe to mainstream gender responsive budgeting and youth inclusion across all sectors. Also to support the work of the Zimbabwe's Parliamentary Caucus in the emerging youth mechanization, and also the dossier of the Plenary Assembly documents. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, the Plenary Assembly meeting concluded with the guided tour of KwaZulu-Natal surroundings, including the key segment of the historic Comrades marathon route, which showcased the province's rich heritage and scenic landscape. This cultural and educational compound with the host Parliament's logistical support and warm hospitality provided delegations with the truly memorable, dignified close of the 58th plenary session. The Parliament of Zimbabwe commits itself to the full implementation of the resolution of the plenary, which will also be shared among all members so that they will also have an insight by the relevant portfolio and thematic committees. The 59th Plenary Assembly of the SADC Parliamentary Forum will be hosted by the Republic of Seychelles in 2026 in preparation of all standing committees of parliaments are also strongly encouraged to actively implement and monitor the resolution adopted during the 58th plenary. This will also ensure the submission of the comprehensive progress report at the forthcoming session. Finally, the communique for the 58th Plenary Assembly is attached as a guiding document in the implementation of the plenary outcomes. I so submit. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much for your very comprehensive report.